This is the city of my stories. I fell under its spell years ago when I first came here on foot from Poland and opened the door onto a past world about which I knew little. The Ottoman Empire flourished here from 1453 to the end of the First World War. It was a city of Greeks, Turks, Sephardic Jews, Armenians and others, of many faiths and many languages. A city, some said, destined to be the capital of the world. Behind me is the extraordinary waterway, the Bosphorus, the ancient waterway that connects the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, and in some ways brings the steppe and the whole world of the steppe and Russia and beyond Central Asia down towards the Mediterranean world. So this is an incredible place of crossing and passage. Asia behind me, I'm on the European side. Istanbul wears its history on its sleeve. Here behind me is the so-called Büyük Valide Han, which is the large Han of the Valide, who was the mother of the Sultan. And you can see it's got the wonderful traditional jumba, which are the little balconies that stick out. And it was where things would be stored, goods would be stored. And the money from that Han might well go to the Valide herself. In my books, I've been trying to recapture the atmosphere of early 19th century Istanbul. It's a great period for fiction, as the imperial capital, caught between Asia and Europe, becomes a battleground between tradition and the modern world. Those are the kind of tensions that drive the Yashim stories, the Janissary tree, the snake stone, and the Bellini card. There's another tension at work too. Yashim is a eunuch. The Sultan's Seraglio was the hub of the old Ottoman Empire. It's where I set the opening chapters of the Janissary tree too, the first in a series of 19th century thrillers. A concubine is strangled in the harem and a soldier murdered in the streets outside. The battle lines, the stories that I work around them, crop up everywhere in Istanbul. In the palace, in the Sultan's harem, Yashim can count on the friendship of the Sultan's mother, the Valide, who lends him the French novels he likes to read in his spare time. The battle lines, the stories that I work around them, crop up everywhere in Istanbul. Yashim would have come here, browsed through the collection. This is my favourite bookshop in Istanbul. Europeans always had an overheated imagination. I tried to show the harem as it really was, a mix between a girls' boarding school and a government ministry. Of course, the first book of the series, The Janissary Tree, deals with the Ottoman regiments closest to the palace machine, the fearsome Janissaries themselves. Here's one, drawn in 1489 by the Venetian artist Gentile Bellini. This man, you feel, is ready and waiting to take the battle standards to the walls of Vienna. Remember him. Remember Bellini too. His portrait of Mehmet the Conqueror in the National Gallery had an extraordinary career, which gave me the idea for the Bellini card. In the second book, The Snake Stone, I've gone underground, into the depths of Istanbul's Greek and Roman past, down into the cisterns and water tunnels that run beneath the city streets. Here's the Snake Stone itself, which gives the title to the second Yashim novel. This very extraordinary entwined bronze snake once stood in Delphi, where the great famous oracle of the classical world was. It ended in 3 sinister snakes' heads, which of course figure in the story, The Snake Stone. And Palevsky and Yashim himself know where the missing heads are, because they were in fact snapped off by exuberant Polish diplomatic young bloods in about 1700. All good stories are driven by character. The city, I suppose, is almost a character itself, and it's the natural setting for an extraordinary gallery of rogues and heroes. A Polish ambassador without a country, a Greek stallholder, a transvestite dancer, a pimp, a cook, a shabby French archaeologist. Istanbul can legitimately hold them all. Above all, there's Yashim himself, scarred by tragedy, but possessing subtle gifts. and as a eunuch free to come and go in the palace and the harem, to question anyone, go anywhere. He's also a great cook, not just because it's fun to write about his cooking, not just because cooking gives him time to think things through, but because Istanbul is a food lover's paradise, and the flavour of its food instantly evokes a civilization that flourished here 200 years ago and more.
Very, very nice.
Now this is going to... First I'll...
Require any more salt?
One whiff of a pilaf scented with pistachios, or a sizzling kebab, is worth a page of description.
One of the things I really love about Istanbul, and which I think makes it perfect for storytelling, is that behind the great grand facade, you know, the fabulous public monuments, the great mosques, palaces and so on, lies this very workaday city.
All this is... Yok, orası ayrı. Onun kapısı burada. Böyle gideceksin, merdivenden çıkacaksın. Yukarıda onun kapıları.
It's there, it's sometimes in the, as it were, the sort of belly of the city that you can find these grace notes of Ottoman culture and remains of the old city that Yashim would have known.
I'm not sure where the stories Istanbul tells will take me next. The Bellini card leads to Venice, another city steeped in history, an old rival to Istanbul too. But in the palace now, the Sultan is dead. The Greek boatmen still gather on the shore of the Golden Horn. The muezzin calls from the great mosque. The fishermen draw up their catches from the Bosphorus. There are still dark alleyways in the shadow of the palaces. There are always other stories to be told.